massive endorsement. Thank you so very much, Miss Fortuna Anthony. 21.5 minutes before 9 o'clock. Welcome back. We are discussing the history and the legacy of the St. Jude's Hospital today, Friday the 9th of September 2022, the 13th anniversary. On this, the 13th anniversary of the 999 disaster. 13 years later, still no St. Jude. Joining me now live on the video platform, a moving, breathing, walking encyclopedia on the St. Jude Hospital, Mr. Hogarth Belizaire. He shares a historical and community perspective. He also worked 5 years as a maintenance officer at St. Jude. He's been able to capture vivid historical accounts of the institution. Mr. Belizaire, good morning, welcome, and thanks for agreeing to come on.
Your program. I am happy to give you my views on St. Jude Hospital as I can remember. And it's been a few years since, but I think I still remember some of them. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay. We can hear you loud and clear. I just want you to adjust your phone so that we can give our viewers an opportunity to see what face you served our country for many years, and we want to give our viewers an opportunity to connect with the face behind the voice. So if you can just adjust the video a little more again and center yourself. We're getting there.
Is it good there?
If you can bring your face away from the phone, just slide your hands down a bit for me. It's live television viewers, so bear with me. You do not want to miss this contribution from Mr. Belizaire. I can assure you of that. It's a lot better, but we need you to come down a bit, Mr. Belizaire, please.
How about this?
There we go.
That's good.
How is that, my technicians?
Okay. It's okay. Is that okay?
If you just put yourself a little further away from the phone, that would be perfect. Here we go. That's the face that I know St. Lucians will remember. And we can put him on screen right now, guys. We can put him on screen right now. Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, Mr. Belizaire. Tell us about your experience working at St. Jude's. What do you remember?
Well, things I remember are, number one, the initial startup of St. Jude's. It started with Mother Irma and her team of 2 others with her were visiting my home one day and told me that they were planning on building a hospital in St. Lucia, but were looking around the area of Castries. My response to them was that do they really want to stay around Castries? And they said, well, not really. If I have anything else and any ideas, share to them. Well, I had seen the St. Jude Hospital because in my work at the time, I did pass around and have a look at the place, and I said it was a shame that a building like that would just go to rot. So I mentioned it to her. She says, well, where is that? So I gave her the directions. There was a taxi driver who used to take them around sometimes. He took them to the site the very weekend. They looked at it, and they came back and told me they certainly liked the area, they liked the building and everything else, and what should they do about it? I said, well, go to Mr. Compton, who was then the Prime Minister. He could direct them as to what needs to be done. That was done. There was government correspondence with the Air Force Base in Miami. Then permissions were granted and all the necessary documentations were done. And they were given the hospital. That was in the early 1965. Very early. We finally got everything sorted out by April 1. And on April 30th, we drove into St. Jude Hospital, the 3 sisters plus 2 others from Barbados and another one from the States. We went down to the hospital and we were greeted by the cows and goats and everything else, like I said in the previous recording. And it was that evening, they had come down the day before and had sorted out a few rooms that people could inhabit for the night. That was done, and next morning we started looking around the building to see what was needed to be done, what was necessary to be moved or whatever. We had a water problem because there was no water connection to the building, and there was an electrical connection because the US Air Force had a small base there during the time of the first launching of the Sputnik and whatnot, the satellites and what have you. There, and that was just a temporary hookup for us. So finally, we were able to get a container, and we got a truck. Now it's to haul water from the water plant to the hospital for use. We started cleaning up the building, and eventually started employing one or two other people who helped us in the first set of organization. Then Mother Irma got a hold of a contractor from Barbados who had worked for the sisters on a few occasions, Mr. David Anderson. He came across and had a look at the building, brought his architects and everything else over. They got the drawings and everything done. They completed the costing and everything else. And by now, that was done by November of '65. I was then sent off to the US to one of their big hospitals up there, St. Francis Hospital, the 900-bed hospital, to learn the rudiments of hospital equipment care, because I was on the technical side. I did a 6-month stint up there with them. I was glad because I was sort of taken on by there were 9 guys working in the maintenance department, each in different fields, and I was taken on by each of them for almost just about everything that went through that building. I came back here. I did select a few things from there that they were changing and were still good, and I was able to get them for our hospital, for St. Jude. One of them was the call system by the bed, the signal system if they needed a nurse or something. Right. And a couple of other things, a couple of other bits and pieces of equipment. And when I came back, the contractors were coming in, and they were starting to work on the various parts of the hospital. The one thing I must admit and say, I did a course in electrical work, but I did an American course, and it was a good thing I did, because the hospital was then wired with the American code in it. And Sister Mary Mark, who was a licensed electrician, she also helped me with my qualifications in electricity, also insisted that we continue the electrical code of the US, which was what was there. So that is what we did. And we got the generators ordered for the hospital, again, with the intention of, in the event that we have to change to local power, we would be able to put the requisite transformers in and be able to switch over. But that we did not do during the time I was there, in fact, up till the fire. The American code is slightly different to the local code, and that is where we had a little bit of a problem, because when we did employ another electrician, he was only accustomed to the local code, which was the English code, and Sister Mark and I trained him into the American code using the colors and everything else, the standards and what have you. Sister Mark and I also repaired the plumbing, the electrical, and whatever else was necessary. What we discovered was that the building was very solid, and that is one of the things that I admired with the way that it was constructed by the Americans, and especially by the military services. We had to cut a door open for the laundry entry, and that took us 1 week with the big jackhammer and 3 of us men working in succession. That was the beginning of the reality of what we had to face. Aside from that, we were able to get in, the sisters were able to get in things like wheelchairs and gurneys and all the rest of it for the equipment for the hospital during that construction time. So, then we started bringing in some volunteer nurses. 1 or 2 of them were from the same hospital that I went to train at. They came from there, and they spent, one spent 6 months, one spent a year, and went back home. but they were happy to have been here to serve in the initial stages. And in fact, one of them had come here. We had not yet even opened, but she helped in packing and sorting out packages and things of medical equipment and all that with us, so that we were able to get them in the right places and everything working. Like Mr. James said, we then started to see the need for specialists in different fields, and we started inviting different doctors of different medical fields. And I'll never forget that our dental unit, the dentist that came down was very good with his hands too. He and I set up the dental clinic, and it took us about a week to get all the equipment in the right places, the right things, and everything working. And I happened to be his first guinea pig. But I enjoyed that because that was the start of our medical work, you see. And we had the eye clinic, which was a temporary setup for the time being, because we didn't have like what we have now. We started in a little room itself, and eventually that grew to one of the things that Mr. James had mentioned, that a lot of people got healed from the specialists that came in.
Yeah.
One of the people that stand out in this whole thing, that in fact he should stand out in that one, was Mr. Charles Augustine from Miku. He was blind because of cataracts, and we did not have the facilities on hand to do that. The first doctor who came in and did a cataract repair was Dr. Stevens. He did the surgery right there at St. Jude, and the guy was able to see again. And as a result of that, when he paid his bill, he said he gave an extra amount just to start an eye clinic. And that was the beginning of our eye clinic in St. Lucia.
That's Mr. Charles Augustine.
From Miku, yes. He was a lawyer. And he was the first surgery that we performed at St. Jude, and he was the one who when we started this, he gave in a contribution to start the eye clinic.
Excellent.
And that was one of the things that we got from our local people here.
So many.
There are several others, but
so many amazing stories. I say so many amazing stories, Mr. Belizaire, in the early years of St. Jude. Just keep yourself centered to the center of the screen for me, so you don't lose your image as you continue to contribute. St. Jude was known as that's perfect as it is right now. St. Jude was known to offer service par excellence. People from across the Caribbean used to come for service at St. Jude. Has the hospital lost its character since the fire, and can the spirit ever be rekindled and returned?
Well, I'll look at it this way, and I'll give you my thoughts on that. I don't want to be political, like Mr. James said. In the hands of a woman, you get better treatment than in the hands of men, unfortunately. Okay? 3 women came to St. Lucia and started up a hospital out of a shell that was developed in 18 months. Now, unfortunately for us, we've had a situation whereby 13 years now, and men cannot sit together and get it going.
And how many men have been involved? How many men have been involved?
I will not go that far. I will not go that far, okay? Because I don't want it to sound political, but I feel hurt about it, to tell you the truth. After having experienced the way in which the 3 women started the hospital out of a shell and persisted and got the thing working. All right. Now, the old shell could have been done and working a long time ago, and the additions to it could be put in. That is the way I look at it. The additions to bring it up to whatever standard that they want to bring it to. But at least we would have had the hospital running. Okay. The night of the fire, when my son called me and told me, "Daddy, the hospital is on fire," I couldn't believe him, to tell you the truth. I jumped out of my bed, woke my wife and my children up, and we headed down to St. Jude at breakneck speed. When I got there, I could see the flames of the fire from the corner by the brewery. I couldn't get very far with my car, so I parked it there. Just as I got out of the car and the folks were going up to the hospital, Mr. King arrived in from Castries, and he stopped there because of the traffic. So I said, Mr. King, we have a problem because I suspect we might have to move the patients from up there. Just then, Mrs. Eugene, who was the principal of the school, was coming up. So I said, Mrs. Eugene, the nearest place we could get is your school. Is it possible at all to get at least 1 or 2 rooms so we can put the guest? She says, of course. She will get it sorted out for us. So she then turned around with her car and went down to the school. Mr. King and I went up to the hospital, and he relayed to the ambulance drivers to bring the patients down there. So we went back, the 2 of us went back down to the school and started moving benches and chairs and everything. And he, Mr. King, and myself cleared the rooms for the patients to come in. And while we were doing that, the ambulance started coming in one after the other. You see, so this is the things that I remember of that night. And I'm telling you, it has a soft spot in my heart because of what I had done prior to that at the hospital for the 5 years that I worked full-time at the hospital. And the other thing that touches me is the fact that the sisters started training local girls to be nurses down there, and they instilled in them the love of nursing, not just being a nurse, the love of nursing. And this is one of the things that unfortunately we have lost a few through natural causes, but there are still 1 or 2 around that we, in fact, Pius Benjamin's mother is one of them, and a few others. I just remembered another one a while ago. That's Mrs. Charles who was one of the first nurses, and you showed the pictures a while ago. So these are the things that we can now look back and be satisfied and thankful to the sisters for starting up something that was. It was not really a total mistake, because there was a hospital to be built in St. Lucia and one in Trinidad. But the plans switched for whatever reason. The bigger hospital was built here and the smaller one was built in Trinidad. That's one of the things that we have to remember. It was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, that was the miracle, the blessing in disguise.
And we ended up with a bigger one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got the bigger one, a bigger hospital.
I'm sitting back here like many citizens, Mr. Belizaire, and we're just in awe in the manner in which you can so vividly recollect your years of service in the startup, the events of September 9th, 2009, and a walking encyclopedia. I did introduce you as on everything St. Jude. We're running out of time, but before I let you go, what's your advice and recommendations on the next step, the best options for completion of St. Jude's?
Well, I tend to feel that we could have opened the hospital already. All right. Now, one of the things that I feel that again, like I say, it takes 3 women to do something, do it right, and do it fast. Unfortunately, the number of men cannot do that. They cannot complete. All right. We could at least finish one of those places, get it organized, and get the patients and everything moved in. While that is done, just like St. Jude started up, we started up. We were not ready. We were not ready with every room and everything available. We started up and we started offering the medical care. Okay, while that was being done, the construction crews were still around. They were still around finishing up. You see, so the same thing can be done right now. And I have visited this little site recently, and I was satisfied to see some new stuff around the place, especially the morgue and the ambulance bay, beautifully done by the Mexicans. And I would say that it can be occupied now and give the chance for a facility that is better than what they're going through right now. And then from that, and then continue to build and improve and whatever else they want to add. The new building is there. Let us finish it. Let us get it on with. Let's get it done. Because sickness does not wait for anybody. Sickness does not wait for anybody. Now we have need for it. Let us get on with it and let us get finished with it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hogarth Belizaire. Thank you for your contribution. We'll be in touch with you because we will keep focus on St. Jude, but I want to thank you for coming on this morning and imparting your knowledge and your history with us.
You're welcome, sir. You're very welcome, and anytime.
Excellent. Perfect way to end the discussion on St. Jude. This is the 13th anniversary. Mr. Hogarth Belizaire put the icing on the cake, really. It's not a celebration, it's a review, well, a celebration really of the history and the legacy of this great institution, St. Jude. Sad that after 13 years since that fire, the people of the South and the people of St. Lucia are still waiting and wanting a St. Jude Hospital. I did promise that we'd open up the phone lines. We're about 3 minutes to go. There is one particular caller in particular who wants to call in to make a short contribution. We could entertain that. And Danley, just prepare for me the images from Flo. We'd just like to scroll them quickly before we say goodbye from downtown Castries last Saturday, that back to school activity. Once you have it, you can put it on for me, and then the phone lines are open. 450-0777. We'll take 2 calls quickly on this special edition of the program. If you have a short contribution to make, you can do so right now at 450-0777. And Danley, once you're able to put those images of Flo downtown Castries last Saturday, I'll be happy to relay it to our viewers and our audience here on the program as we wrap up what has been a very special Friday edition of the program. Good morning, St. Lucia vibes at sunrise. Once the phone lines are active, you alert me as well, DeAndre. 450-0777, that number in studio. Next week we'll be back with some more entertaining and enlightening discussion. On Monday, I have a very special guest who will go into the design options for St. Jude's experience